Okay, so tomorrow's test has 16 questions, just like chapter 2. 14 of the questions are worth 6 points each. And then there's 2 proofs, and they're worth 8 points each. So a total of 16 out of the 100 are going to come from the 2 proofs. However, when I do a proof example for you, I'm going to show you how you can get a lot of the points just by writing in the given and what you're trying to prove. So 2 proofs, and then the other 14 questions are what you've been seeing in these reviews.
Are they like full proofs, or we just have to fill in?
One is a full proof, and it's short and sweet, and the other one is a kind of a long proof, but you're going to fill in 2 statements and 2 reasons. Okay, so each one of the statements is worth 2 points, and each one of the reasons is worth 2 points. In the proof you're writing yourself, I can do it in 4 steps. So each one of the statements is 1 point, each one of the reasons is 1 point. So honestly, out of that proof you're writing yourself, out of those 8 points, 3 of those points are freebie, because they're going to come from the given that's given to you, and then you write the reason as given, and then what you're trying to prove. So you can still get an A even if you don't fully understand the proof, okay? So don't, get hung up and think that the proof is going to be impossible. It's not. It's doable. All right. So this is actually from your textbook. This is a page that was right before the quiz. Like there's like a quiz in the middle of the chapter, and it reviews those sections. So from section 3.1, this is where we learned how to identify or define what a parallel line is, what a skew, what a perpendicular line is, what a parallel plane is. We also learned the perpendicular postulate, the parallel postulate. So know all of these things. Just like on the quiz, I'm going to give you a figure, like a little cube, and I'm going to say, find a line parallel to another line, or find a line skew. So if you don't understand these vocabulary terms, that question might be kind of challenging. Then we also learned how to form the different angle pairs, the alternate interior, alternate exterior, corresponding, consecutive interior angles. We learned how to form those. Then in section 3.2, when we straightened up the lines and made them parallel, then they became either congruent or supplements. So know the theorems from 3.2. Know the theorems from 3.3. Those are taking those same angle pairs and proving the lines are parallel. This would be the lesson I would focus on for your proof. You're probably going to be proving some lines parallel tomorrow. So this is just a little synopsis of what we did in sections 1, 2, and 3. On the next slide of this, or on the next page of this document that's posted, here's another review for you. You can do this. You will not have word problems like numbers 15 or 16, so you could skip those. But you could focus on practicing naming the different angle pairs. Now, up here, where it says to identify all pairs of a given type, on the test tomorrow, I'm going to say, name one pair. For example, when you get to, if you get the question and it says, find a pair of corresponding, there's actually 4 pairs here. If you give me a pair that's wrong, I'm going to mark the whole thing wrong. So just give me one pair, the pair that you're confident with. So for example, for the corresponding angle pairs, we actually have 3 and 7 that are corresponding. We also have 1 and 5, and we also have 2 and 6, and then also 4 and 8. Any one of those 4 pairs would have been an answer to this question on tomorrow's test. Again, you don't need to name all, just give me one. You're also going to need to find different angle measures. It may be just numbers or it may be expressions. You will also have to tell me if there is enough information to prove lines are parallel, And it's also going to ask you which ones are parallel and why. It's going to ask you to explain. It'll ask you to state the theorem. So review these as well. On the next slide is the answer to this. So if you choose to do these problems to review for the test tomorrow, I've already included the answers on the next slide. Now, the next couple slides, this was the review that I posted that had NG in the description that I had due for today. So this is the review from the end of the chapter. And again, just like we did on the quiz, I'll give you a picture of, a shape like this, where I'm going to ask you, give me a line that's parallel or give me a line that's skew, different things like that. And then again, here's the parallel lines and the transversals. You'll get questions just like you did on the quiz, where it's going to ask you to find the value of x. So again, these answers for this review are in the module. You'll go to that file. It has all of them, not just the odds. Then in 3.3, this is where we would try to determine which lines are parallel, and then find the value of x that makes them parallel. So be able to do questions like these. 3.4, again, you can probably get some proof questions from 3.4 as well. You'll get questions from this lesson, and it's going to ask you to explain your reasoning. So you'll get a question just like 13, 14, 15, 16, where you have to tell me which lines are parallel and why. And then 3.5, this is where we're writing the equations of the lines. You will not get questions like 25 and 26. These are the questions that are way too long. But you will get questions like this, where I give you an equation and a point, and I ask you to give me an equation that's parallel or perpendicular. One other thing that's not on here is, just like we did in the warm-up, I'll give you two order pairs, and I'll ask you to find the slope. So you're just plugging them into the slope formula. On the next slide is another review, and this one is not in that file or on the app. So again, lots of review material. I'm going to actually do a proof with you. I'm actually going to write down those 3 formulas you need to know for tomorrow as well. I know in the 3.5 homework you had to use the midpoint formula. You will not need the midpoint formula for tomorrow. That's why I gave you the answers to this one. The formulas that you will need for tomorrow are the distance formula, and I'll go ahead and write these down. So for tomorrow, you need the distance formula. And that's x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. And this is all under the square root. You also need to know the slope formula. Remember, slope is always indicated with a lowercase letter m. And it's y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And the other formula you need to memorize is the slope-intercept formula. And that is y equals mx plus b, where m is your slope and b is your y-intercept. You will not have to graph tomorrow. You're just going to come up with the equation. Now, I'm actually going to do a proof from section 3.3. It's actually an even proof, so you didn't have to do this one for homework. So I'll do this one because we haven't done it yet. So this is number 36. So this would be a good proof to focus on. This will be the type of proof that you'll have to write all by yourself. So for number 36, and this is from section 3.3, I'm given that A is parallel to B and angle 2 is congruent to angle 3, and it wants me to prove that C is parallel to D. So let me give you the figure. This is A, this is B, this is C, this is D, this is 1, 3, 2, and 4. Okay, so now let me go ahead and set it up. statements and reasons. Now, I don't want to see it blank on anybody's paper, because if you leave it blank, you're leaving 3 points behind. So right away, just from what I've given to you, statement number 1 is A is parallel to B, and angle 2 is congruent to angle 3, and that was given to me. And if all else fails and you know nothing else, I told you that the proof tomorrow, I can do it in 4 steps. You may do it in a different way. As long as it flows logically, I'm okay with that. So I'm going to jump down here. This one can also be proven in 4 steps. So my last statement is what I'm trying to prove. So right away, just by filling this up, making the 2 columns and putting in these 3 little pieces of information, I just racked up 3 points for this question. Now it's a matter of figuring out what goes in between here. So what I need to do is look at my diagram. What else can I see in my diagram if I know A is parallel to B? And if I look at line D here as a transversal, I can see that since those lines are parallel, I know that angle 1 is congruent to angle 3. And the type of angles these are my alternate interior angles theorem. So that'll be my next statement. Angle 1 is congruent to angle 3, and the reason why I can say that is because of my alternate interior angles theorem. And now if you look at the given and the statement I just wrote, see how they both have angle 3 in common to them? So if angle 1 is congruent to 3 and 2 is congruent to angle 3, then what that tells me, and I could go ahead and label this in here, that by my transitive property, I can state that angle 1 is congruent to angle 2, and this is transitive because the 3's like overlap and cancel. So this is transitive. And my last reason why I can state that these are parallel, I'm going to identify what type of angles 1 and 2 are, and those are corresponding. So by my corresponding angles converse, I can prove that these 2 lines are parallel. Whenever you're trying to prove 2 lines are parallel, it's always a converse. Yes. Yes. So you will have a short and sweet proof just like this tomorrow on the test. And again, out of these 8 points that you could rack up, 4 for each statement, 4 for each reason, 3 of the points are freebie. Yes. Yes. Everybody good? So 16 questions, 2 proofs. 1, you're going to write just like this one. The other one will be a fill-in. I'll either give you statements and you give me the reasons, or I'll give you the reasons. You provide me the statement that matches with that reason that I give you. Any questions? So on Canvas, there is a Quizlet for sections 3.1 to 3.3. There's also a Quizlet for 3.5. I don't have one for 3.4. There's also the GIM kit that we played for the quiz. It's in the announcement. I think I'm going to move the link to the GIM kit. I'm also got a link to a Kahoot that we're going to play in a minute. So we will not get through all the questions that are in the Kahoot. So I'm going to put both of those links if you want to use that as well to study. So there's the Quizlet, the GIM kit, and Kahoot that I'm going to be posting links for. So again, use your notes, use your warm-ups, use your homework, use the reviews, all of this information, and make yourself a nice study guide. Okay?